Ladies and gentlemen, we're living in a time now with coronavirus and all of this other stuff going on where we're having to adjust to like a different type of lifestyle. And I'm hoping that we can get back to normal. Seriously, like I want us to be able to get back to our kids going to regular school, behaving regularly, being with their teachers and all of that good stuff. I want us to be able to go in restaurants and grocery stores and just be normal. This whole social distancing stuff or whatever the case is, it's just, I don't know. I don't like it, but that's my personal opinion. Nonetheless, it seems that there's been an uptick in the type of stories that we've been doing because people and parents and family members have had to be around these kids a whole lot more often than they normally would be. But you would think, I guess you would think that, I don't know, the more time you spend around your kids and your family, that you might appreciate them more, especially the fact that we just don't know, like we live in very uncertain times now. But it seems that people's true colors are really coming out. I want to tell y'all guys a story about this individual that you see on my screen who has tears. He has tears in his face. Can y'all bookmark that? Tears. Because we're going to talk about those tears here in just a moment. That individual is accused of doing something. They didn't even tell y'all this in the news, but I'm going to tell you. He was accused of doing something to a family member. A family member of his that was supposed to be in school on their laptop doing work. They were taking a break and they muted the mic, but the camera was on so you could see everything that was going on. And I'm going to tell you guys this. I think sometimes technology has done us a big favor because there's some things that would have never have come to light unless we had our technology, our cameras, surveillance cameras. People lie about stuff. And now we have this thing with these e-learnings where you can actually see what's going on in people's homes. Like, I don't know if y'all heard about that story about that mother that walked in her son's bedroom butt naked. Did y'all see that? I actually saw the video and I was just horrified. I'm like, what and why? What and why were my two questions. I just don't get it. But like I said, I think that sometimes this technology can be a little bit of a benefit to help expose what these children are actually subjected to, okay? Cook County prosecutors say that a Southside man sexually abused a 7-year-old family member in a disturbing attack that was witnessed by the girl's teacher and classmates. Let's rewind. This attack was witnessed by the teacher and classmates. Other little kids, other little 7-year-old kids, other little bitty babies. Okay? Bookmark that. We'll come back to it. During an e-learning session earlier this week, a judge denied bail for that individual that you see on my screen. That is 18-year-old Catrell, Catrell Walls, who faces a felony charge of predatory criminal sexual assault following the encounter that was allegedly caught on video from a Chesterfield neighborhood home during a break in the girls' online class Thursday afternoon. During a break. So they were supposed to be taking a break and this baby got sexually assaulted. I'm going to try my best to warn you guys that these stories are not going to sit well with your sensibilities. So I'm going to tell you, if you can't handle the stories, then I understand. Then you might not need to be here. If you only came for the news, then this is probably not where you need to be. If you came to hear my commentary and my thoughts about what happened, then you are in the right place. But I'm going to give you guys some details, so I'm going to warn you, that is your forewarning. The little girl's microphone was muted on her computer, but the camera was on. The camera on her computer was on as a handful of other students were logged in to Google Meet's session, prosecutors said during Walls' bail hearing. The teacher was working on a different computer during the pause in the class when she heard two other students saying, "What is going on? What is happening?" according to prosecutors. When the teacher opened the screen back to her online class, she saw the 7-year-old girl being sexually assaulted by this individual that has tears coming off of his face in that mugshot. Huh? Yes, what would have happened if the camera was off? And that's part of what I'm saying, that sometimes I think that technology helps us catch things that we would have never have found out about. This little girl would have been living in a nightmare for God knows how long, if not for this camera being on. And if this is your first time watching, I want to say thank you guys very much. Please make sure you click the thumbs up. It will help share the stream and bring more attention to stories like this, because I believe that babies' lives matter. I believe that we can no longer continue to use babies for benefits, right? And I believe that we need to put children first. But let's move on. The teacher yelled for the other students to log off, and calling the girl's name, telling her to turn off her camera, prosecutors said. The teacher allegedly then saw Walls pick up the laptop and closed it. The teacher reported what she saw to the school's principal, who called the girl's family, Chicago police, and authorities from the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, according to prosecutors. The girl had been staying at her grandmother's home during the school day. I'm gonna read that again. This little girl had been staying at her grandmother's home during the school day. I know a lot of you guys are wondering what his connection is with that little girl. Well, I'm going to give full disclosure, and I'm going to tell you guys based on my research. I cannot say this with 100% accuracy, but this is the little girl's cousin. That 7-year-old baby that he was sexually assaulting is his cousin. We're going to get to the parents here in just a moment. When the girl's father, principal, and school's chief executive officer went to the home to ask the girl about what happened, she initially said that Walls just hit her. I'm going to read that again. When the girl's biological father, principal, and school's chief executive officer went to the home to ask the girl about what happened, she initially said that her cousin just hit her. Clearly that's manipulation, because I believe that that's what he told her to say. But when the principal spoke with her away from the family, the girl described a sexual assault and said that this sexual assault actually happened before. The girl was taken to Comer Children's Hospital for an examination. Walls was arrested, and the next day during an interview with detectives, allegedly admitted to what the teacher and students had seen on video, as well as other assaults of the same girl since she was 6 years old. So if he was at grandma's house and this little girl was at grandma's house, where was grandma? I don't know if grandma had a job. I don't know if grandma had to work. I don't really know the details of that. But you would think that an older family member should be responsible enough to just make sure and just keep the house secure, hold down the fort, right? But with this type of individual, I don't even know what that crap is you call on the top of his head. It looked like somebody just took a bunch of tissue and just set it on the top of his head. Like, I don't know. He just looks like a depraved individual to me. It's my personal opinion. But you would think that if you have a relative that is 18 years old, should be responsible, should understand the responsibilities of an adult, should be able to watch his 7-year-old, 6-year-old cousin. Huh? You wouldn't think that somebody would do something like this. But I want y'all to think about this. With him being 18 years old, I want y'all to imagine, I want y'all to think about this for a moment because of all the stories that we've talked about. I want y'all to imagine that if that dude ended up being some woman's boyfriend. Remember we talk about mom's boyfriend? Hashtag when you date thugs, you date death. What if this dude would have had a girlfriend who had kids? Or got some woman pregnant and ended up having a kid by this dude? What if this dude would have sexually assaulted more young children? Maybe he already has. Who knows? But I'm just throwing it out there because it seems that, let me not say that. Let me bite my tongue right there. Let's move on. Walls was arrested the next day, and during an interview, he allegedly admitted to what they saw on the video, and he also admitted to other assaults. Prosecutors say that Walls broke out in tears. I didn't know. I didn't know no better. My grandma. Yeah. This little weak ass little boy broke out because he ain't no man. He's a little punk boy, right? Broke out in tears, crying after he was the one who attacked a little girl who cannot speak for herself nor defend herself. How about that? He said, I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was his words. Now, he was a senior in high school, and he's been diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, which impairs his ability to control his impulses, according to his defense attorney. Can we get a hashtag no more excuses? That's going to be our new hashtag. Hashtag no more excuses. They're trying to say that ADHD made him sexually assault this little girl. Now, I don't know if y'all want to hear the actual activity that he did to the little girl. If y'all want to know, let me know. But if not, then I'll just withhold that information. But y'all got to let me know how y'all feel about that in the chat. He's been out of jail on bond following a previous felony charge of unlawful use of a weapon. Let me say that again for everybody out there who says, well, he's not no thug. That's not who he is. Why is you calling him a thug, Just Jay? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to read it again. This 18-year-old young man has been out of jail. Following a previous felony charge of unlawful use of a weapon. Do I think that the majority of people who break the law and are non-law-abiding citizens are thugs and criminals? Yes. Yes, I do. I've done some things in my life that I'm not proud of, and you could have very well have easily called me the same thing. But I think the difference is that there's a difference between what you're doing compared to what you've done. People had every right to look at me and judge me based on my past negative behaviors. But that's not who I am now. So I've been making it my life's work to make sure that I become a better person myself, okay? So I'm just throwing it out there because I know people wonder why I call people like these Whether they black, white, Mexican, whoever it is, I think that they're all thugs and criminals until they show us that they're not. This ongoing history of assault for approximately a year, according to the victim, leads me to believe that this is not something that will just stop because I've ordered it to, Judge Charles Beach said. This history and his actions from this case lead me to believe that he is a threat to an individual and the community as a whole. So what they did was they denied his bail, if I understand correctly. I could be wrong, but I think they denied his bail. So he's got no bail. An unrelated Friday press conference, the Chicago Public Schools CEO Janice Jackson said that this situation is definitely disturbing and something that has been unsettling for me personally since I heard about it. But I also think that it just makes me more committed to seeing our kids back in school under the watchful eye of their teachers who can care for them deeply. Now, this dude is due back in court on November the 21st, which is in 2019, in 17 days. Let me give you guys the fair usage. Let's go ahead and get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107.
Growing fears that crimes against children are going unnoticed. Important issues we're taking the time to dive into here on Hour 18, starting with CBS 2 investigator Megan Hickey. Megan.
Brad, obviously public health is the #1 priority, but Chicago Public Schools and victims advocates are in agreement that schools don't just teach kids, but they also keep them safe. It was a horrific call to Chicago police Thursday afternoon. A 7-year-old girl observed performing a sexual act on a man live on an online learning session.
I was absolutely appalled when I heard the story.
Unfortunately, it's exactly the type of abuse that the executive director of Connections for Abused Women and Their Children feared.
So many individuals don't have the resources.
When she first learned about remote learning plans last spring.
And the risk of individuals, of children, being without someone that can be a voice for them, like their teachers or a teacher's aide or a principal.
We confirmed today that the 7-year-old victim was not a CPS student, but Chicago Public Schools CEO still echoed the CAWC's concern.
There are fewer watchful eyes looking at students, connecting with students to make sure that they're safe.
And pointed to a solution, an eventual return to in-person instruction.
It just makes me even more committed to seeing our kids back in school under the watchful eye of their teachers who care for them deeply.
CAWC experienced a drop in hotline calls for help early in the pandemic, a bad sign, they say, that abuse was going unreported. Love Patterson tells me those numbers began to trend back up after the state moved into phase 4, but worries that if a resurgence of cases leads to a second shutdown,
that will mean then that, again, victims of domestic violence and sexual assault will be forced to shelter in place with the very person that wants to harm them.
Now, as of this afternoon, Chicago police said a man had been questioned by detectives, but charges were still pending. That young girl was taken to Comer Children's Hospital. CPD also said that their domestic violence call volumes are currently about 9 to 11% higher than the same period last year. Brad?
Some disturbing things there, Megan. If a return to in-person learning is still a ways away, what can be done in the meantime, right now, to protect kids from abuse?
Right, so Love Patterson said that teachers need to go out of their way to observe students even during remote learning. Their changes in demeanor, changes in personality. Also said they need to make sure that parents are aware of the signs and to know what kind of resources are available to them, like the CWAC, that they can use to help. Live in River North, Megan Hickey, CBS 2 investigators.
Megan, thank you.
I believe that children are very smart, even being 7 years old. If they know how to use technology, tablets, smartphones, computers, and things like that, in my opinion, I wouldn't put it past this smart little girl who was scared and tired of being abused, I would not put it past her to have left that camera on purpose, so people could find out what this idiot was forcing her to do. Huh? This was the only method. I want y'all to think about this. This was the only method that this little girl had of telling on that fool. He's bigger than her. She was probably scared of him. Who else was she supposed to tell? I think that might have been the only way that she could have gotten herself out of this situation, is to act like, nope, camera's not on. Nope, it's not on. Now, what did you say you wanted me to do? And leave the camera running. But you know what? Regardless of whether it was an accident or on purpose, I'm glad that at least this little girl can get some justice, however we had to find out about it. Because otherwise, if the curtains were closed, if there were no cameras, this is an abuse that would have gone swept under the rug, and we would not have known what was going on with this dude. Again, I'm going to put his name out there until he proves himself innocent. But for now, that is Catrell Walls, 18 years old. He's going to have to deal with whatever it is that he did. And I believe that based on the information we have, based on the information that the little kids, and hashtag kids don't lie, they have to be taught the value of lying. But I believe the little 7-year-old girl over an 18-year-old man who actually does know the value in lying and deception. I believe the little girl. And if that little girl, what she said was true, then this dude's been assaulting her sexually for a whole year. And apparently nobody knew about it. And apparently this little girl was smart enough to leave that camera on so somebody could come and save her. And I'm glad that the teacher was able to jump into action, report it, saw something, said something, got it to the proper authorities, and all of that good stuff. Hashtag pedos gotta go. Can we get that out there? Hashtag pedos gotta go. They gotta go. All of them do. It's not going to be acceptable in our society. Not now, not ever, never going to be cool. And we're going to continue to excoriate anybody who is accused or convicted of heinous crimes against children. We're the AFC. We're here to advocate for children first. Don't even be accused of doing something like this. Understand? We need to be a hell of a lot more sensitive around our babies, and we need to give them the absolute utmost respect. That's the way I feel about it. For everybody that likes to say that we're jumping to conclusions, well, you know what? Maybe y'all need to start jumping to these babies' defense and stop using these children for the benefits that you can collect from these kids. This is your boy DJ Just J. That's what makes us the AFC, because this ain't a me thing. It's a we thing. From my heart to yours, I love you guys. And I hope that we get justice for this baby and find out what really happened. All right.